Hi guys, Nick Ferrari was challenged by a caller over his support for Brexit. Tim here embarrassed the host over his campaigning for the UK to leave the EU. The caller explained that he had lost his European rights, and he laid the blame at Ferrari's feet. What was Nick's response? This isn't the Brexit I voted for. When asked what was the one he actually voted for, the radio host crumbled and ran away from the argument. A pretty pathetic response. Have a listen to this.
No, what I'm saying, and you are being very dismissive about this, Nick.
Yeah.
These rights under the European Court of Human Rights apply to all of us in everyday life.
When have they helped you?
Taken away from us.
When have they helped you?
They help me because I can ring you up and say things like this.
And you honestly think
they help all of us.
Hold on, sir. You're telling me that if we were to exit that court, you wouldn't be able to ring me or one of my colleagues. Come on.
I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that we have lost the right. We have lost the right. You are. I don't know why. Is it because it's got the word European at the front of it? Do you decide that it's a bad thing?
Listen to look at my last name. Of course, I like Europe. I love Europe.
My dad came from you campaigned very vociferously to take away my European rights. You've taken away my rights as a European citizen, and now you want to take away my rights under the ECHR.
I think you'll find out.
And come on, you've got to be straight, Nick. You were wrong on Brexit, and you're wrong on this one.
I don't know that I was wrong on Brexit. Certainly, it's not the Brexit. Certainly, it's
Where
not
have you been living for the last 6 years, Nick?
Certainly, it's not the Brexit.
Where have you been living? You don't think you were wrong on Brexit?
Tim, let me finish. This is not. I totally agree. This is not the Brexit I voted for. I absolutely agree.
Which one did you vote for, Nick?
The one that
which one was it?
The one that I hope would have been carried out, but unfortunately, we've been through so many prime ministers.
Which one was it, Nick?
Well, I'm not doing that Brexit row again. I'm sorry.
No,
I just won't.
You can't.
No,
you don't know,
I won't. I will absolutely accept. I will absolutely accept that. I doubt that anybody, even Jacob. No.
This is not the Brexit I voted for. Well, Nick, what is the Brexit you voted for? We will never know because he won't actually answer the question. He doesn't know himself because, like most Brexiteers, he didn't actually know what he was voting for. You know, they mention things like taking back control. Well, how has that worked out? Taking back control of what? Because when it comes to immigration, the number of asylum seekers has gone up since the UK left the EU. The UK used to be, had the ability to be part of the Dublin Agreement, the Dublin Convention, which would allow it to spread the responsibility around Europe. But it can't do that now. It has to process all the claims itself. And when it comes to taking back control of goods, well, there aren't checks being carried out at the border because it's too expensive and it creates too much disruption. So they're not carrying out checks. There's no control being taken back at the border when it comes to goods. And asylum claims have gone up. So how is taking back control worked? What did Nick Ferrari actually hope to achieve with Brexit? That's what I'd love to know. He doesn't have to describe his Brexit in detail, just some ideas about what he was expecting. Was it sovereignty? Well, yeah, we needed to get our sovereignty back. Well, I presume he doesn't have a problem with giving up sovereignty when it's part of the United Nations or NATO or CPTPP.
I doubt that even Jacob Rees-Mogg thinks that this is the Brexit he voted for. I am not going to do the Brexit row. This is not LBC 2016.
What a coward.
I just cannot bring myself to bloody well do that. What I will debate with you, though, is the ECHR. I'm very happy to do that. Currently, it's the Nick Ferrari show. It's not the Tim from Leatherhead show. I will try again. Tell me how I'm in any way endangered, or your life is endangered, or any of our families or friends, if we were to leave the ECHR.
What is the point in having people phone your programme if you won't let them talk? You
tell
just
me
talk over them. You
tell
get
me
a
how their
topic
lives.
You feel uncomfortable about.
Tell me how
somebody presses a button.
Hold on.
That proves that you're wrong, and you don't like it.
No, you're going to air at the moment, Tim. You're going to face the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Okay. Look, Tim wasn't able to explain why it's a problem to leave the ECHR. Well, I will explain. The ECHR prohibits slavery and forced labour. It details the right to a fair trial. It contains the right to privacy and family life. That would all be taken away. Now, would it disappear overnight? No, but those protections would be removed. The right to freely practice a religion or no religion. the right to freedom of expression, the right to assembly, the right to marry, protections from discrimination, be it in regards to employment or a place to live, the right to an education, the right to vote. These are all things that are enshrined within the ECHR. You know, who left the ECHR? Russia and Belarus. Does it mean that if the UK left, it would be like Russia and Belarus? No. But the protections that are in place today would be removed. People would not be able to go to the European Court of Human Rights if they believed that the UK was not upholding those rights. You know, when Nick Ferrari says, what would you lose if we took this away? You wouldn't lose something tomorrow, but you would lose the protection that exists today. Gradually, governments would say, well, the right to freedom of expression, well, that's already been eroded. People are not allowed to protest. People are not allowed to make noise around the House of Commons. Imagine if they extended that out to the rest of the country. The right to assembly, to protest, to go on strike. These are things that are enshrined within this court and this convention that Nick Ferrari seems to think that, it's not a problem if we get rid of that. He's putting a huge amount of trust in people like Rishi Sunak or Boris Johnson or even Keir Starmer. Just because the Prime Minister, you like the Prime Minister, doesn't mean that they're going to uphold these rights. You would hope that they will. But if they don't, you need to have an external arbiter who will actually uphold these rights. Unfortunately, this entire debate is based on the idea that we need to take rights away from asylum seekers. This is what the far right and their commentators want to do. And they ignore that these rights are also for British people. It's a disgrace. Nick Ferrari can't answer why he supported Brexit. He can't explain the type of Brexit that he wanted. And he's very willing to just throw away people's rights at the drop of a hat. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.